Hello everyone and welcome back to Just Ask Alumni episode 4. We're super excited to be back on with a bit of a different topic from the last two. This time we're going to move away from mentorship and we're going to talk about marketing. What exactly is marketing? What are some of the tips and tricks you need to keep in mind when you're marketing your company, marketing yourself, or a certain brand? What is a brand? And we're going to try and answer these questions today with none other than our own marketing manager here, Miguel. Hello, Miguel. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So, you're a marketing manager, not director. I have it ingrained in me to say director for some reason, but...
Probably because in the CP program, I think it is marketing director as well. There's a lot of directors in the CP program, so they start getting all over the place.
Yeah, whatever. So, you are our marketing manager here at JA Alumni. So, how has that experience been for you so far?
Well, I mean, it's been a very interesting experience because, to be quite honest with you, even you knew I didn't have that much experience actually in marketing when I became the marketing manager. So it's been a really big learning curve. That said, it's been really interesting and it's been really nice learning about new things. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, you didn't have much experience coming in, but I mean, now we're doing this podcast. You're the producer. We've mentioned you every episode, I think now. So
close to every episode.
So let's learn a bit about you. What do you enjoy doing?
So that's an interesting question. So basically, what I enjoy doing changes depending on times of year. So even there was a certain point in time when I was really into archery. I really enjoyed doing archery. Then I had to stop that because of school and even because of personal reasons. I plan on getting back into that. I also really enjoy JA Alumni. So this, to me, is my version of relaxation. So all the work that comes my way, all the stuff.
Dealing with me is relaxation.
Yeah,
the people behind the cameras are going, nah.
No. Well, I mean, I said JA Alumni. I never said specifically you. But I'm not saying nothing.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
fair enough.
But
fair enough.
Yeah, so like the JA Alumni is incredibly relaxing to me, and I really enjoy doing it. I enjoy hanging out with my friends. Basically, I enjoy all the things an average 17-year-old guy would enjoy.
Nice. All right. And you were in the program last year, right?
That I was.
Tell us. So you've had a few funny experiences in that program, and I've heard of a few of them. I haven't heard of all of them, but give us one of those funny experiences.
Well, with so many to choose from, where do I start? So, I think probably one of the funniest experiences would have to be my shipment getting delayed by pirates. Now, in case you didn't get that, pirates. So, obviously not the Johnny Depp Jack Sparrow kind of pirate. If that was the case,
that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
That'd be amazing
funny.
Marketing right there.
Amazing marketing. Definitely, I can get Johnny Depp to just like straight up. Yo, this cushion's so good. I boarded a ship to get it. But no. So like pirates, and basically, our ship was traveling through a certain area which was heavily problematic with pirates, and so pirates ended up delaying my shipment because instead of, as we all know in maths, the fastest way to get somewhere is through a straight line, take the hypotenuse. We decided not to take the hypotenuse. We decided to go around a tiny continent, probably never even heard of it. We call it Africa. This tiny continent, we went all around it. Then obviously we had to enter the Mediterranean, and so that was interestingly funny, and at the same time slightly tearful, but at the end, they were very funny. Very funny.
So thank you for sharing that. I laugh at this every single time you mention it.
Yeah.
So let's get into marketing. What is marketing to you? What is marketing?
So basically, marketing to me is finding a way to creatively, to a certain extent, also abstractly present your product to people, in the sense that not necessarily even your product, it could even be you, mind you. The biggest thing you always have to market is yourself. That's the one thing, because a product isn't necessarily the best of things, but if the person pitching it knows how to pitch it and knows how to market himself, he can sell dirt. Like it's ridiculous. If you know how to present yourself and you know how to market yourself correctly, you can pitch pretty much anything. But essentially, marketing to me is kind of, how to target a specific audience. With this specific audience, I know this would better work than this. Okay. You also know are very aware of brand colors. You're aware of what to use in what instance. You're insightful in certain fields of knowledge. And I'm not going to say you need to know every single thing, because for starters, I don't know every single thing. I'm still learning them as I go along.
Yeah.
But if you have a little bit of knowledge in every sort of field. You don't need to know a lot, but just a little bit. It helps even understanding when someone is either doing something in collaboration with you or you're learning from someone.
Okay.
It's really helpful to know at least a little of what he's saying. So it's helpful in that sense.
Yeah, so you mentioned brand, you mentioned knowing audience. So those are two things we can go into today.
Yeah.
If you guys notice, I don't have a tablet with me, which means that we are YOLOing this conversation a lot more than we usually do, well, in the previous 3 episodes. So we're going to talk about audience. I think that's an important part, branding. And I think we should go into some values. And I think we should start with that. Why are values important? Do you think values are important to marketing?
Okay, to properly answer that question, I'm going to have to ask you to emphasize a bit more. What do you mean by values as such? Because that can mean so many different things depending on the context.
So let's say let's go into the case of like branding yourself, right?
Yeah.
What are the qualities and values that you want to bring out? Do you want to be someone who's effective? Do you want to be someone who's loyal? Do you want to be someone who's seen as hardworking? Do you think that actually having those values set on purpose is good for marketing and making sure that those values are clearly communicated? Is that important?
So firstly, those values aren't something you just market. They're something that you have, and they're something that takes long to foster. They're not something you can just fake. And anyone who knows his stuff will figure out, okay, this guy is sort of putting it on like a show, a facade, whilst obviously someone who actually has those values will show immediately. And you'll pick it up immediately. And I think definitely, yes, they are important, especially loyalty, in the sense that when you're marketing yourself, you need the people that are sort of looking at you, and to a certain extent, I could say, inspecting you, sort of, and figuring out, yes, this guy would make a good partner, for example, or this guy would make, a good supplier, whatever you're trying to market. They definitely want to figure out, okay, this guy's in it for the long haul, or this guy I can trust not to, say one thing and then go behind my back and do another thing. Yeah. So you definitely need to be loyal, and to a certain extent, you also need to be this is going to sound weird, but also kind of a fun person to be around. Nobody wants to be around a downer all the time. Someone who's always, negative, someone who they see something come their way, like a possible opportunity, or maybe it's a mistake, and they see it from a negative light. That will definitely impact the way people will perceive you, because nobody wants to be around someone that brings everyone down. Everybody wants to be around someone who brings people up, brings opportunities, brings different perspectives, even from a negative point of view. If you're looking at something and something negative happened, there's nothing wrong in admitting and acknowledging that something went wrong. Yeah. However, then it's your responsibility to say,
Smiley pirates.
How am I? Yeah, Smiley pirates. Yeah. In fact, that was something we had to figure out, how we're going to market it in a funny way, and that actually went into our marketing. Like, this is such a good product, it had to be delayed by pirates because we couldn't get it here earlier because they wanted to test it first. So we have market testing from literally every range of people you can imagine, including pirates. Like, that was stuff we put in. And the reason we put it in is because it helps humor. Humor is such a strong tool.
It is.
Obviously, I'm not saying, be a clown all the time and be overly humor. But yeah, a little bit of humor never hurt anyone. So definitely be someone who's upbeat, be someone who's positive. Obviously be on task. So when something comes, you need to know, okay, this is a time for humor. This is a time for, actually doing the job. And if you can market that across and you can show yourself to be someone who's focused but at the same time humoristic and upbeat, then I think it'll be fine.
I think that the teams in JA and even just companies in general, when they have a more positive and when they have energy, they do so well in their marketing. Like, their marketing is great. Yeah. I'll take it from personal experience. When we did Young Culture, I mean, the videos were, we aimed for energy. And we went well because of that energy. And when I see the winning teams of last year, of the year before, and even the teams that just did well in general, those are the teams that are energetic in their videos, but they're also energetic when they're off camera. It's like, it's they're not energetic for the camera. They're just those type of people. And I think it makes a huge difference when you try and market something in such a way where it doesn't fit your personality. It's very, very difficult, Like, I'm not going to go on and be someone who's super witty, because I'm not witty. But at the same time, I pull a joke every now and again,
Yeah, it's good to play to your strengths. That's the important thing in life, that you market yourself as you're someone who plays to his strengths. Even within a company, you want to be not someone who's fake. You want to be someone that plays to his strengths. He knows his strengths, he knows his limitations, and you work on that. And that's incredibly true. In the case of, for example, being witty, a lot of, material. I'm not going to say the direct marketing itself, because that we had someone else on our team who was doing it. But a lot of, the ideas for some of the material came from a person who's incredibly funny, incredibly witty. In our team, it was Luca. Shout out to you, by the way. But yeah, he was incredibly witty, both on and off camera. And even we had like a pitch, not a pitch, it was like the 3-minute ad or something like that. I think it's 3 minutes, 1.5, something like that. And, he came up with this really funny montage of different ways you can be sitting that's uncomfortable, and then he put the cushion in.
I watched this. I remember this. This was funny. Yeah, it
was.
was.
Because it was funny, because it wasn't fake. It was actual stuff, and that, mind you, was not scripted in any way, shape, or form. That was literally him that just said, "Turn on the camera and just let me work." That was his exact words. Turn on the camera, make sure it's stable, and just let me work. And you just see him shifting into so many different positions. Then I had to go to the pain and agony and torture of getting each one and making it, because we didn't want, obviously, otherwise it would have been way too long, so we cut out the transitional scenes. But like it was incredibly funny, not just to edit, but even just to watch in person. It was hysterical to watch. And at one point, actually, we had a cleaning person walk in behind us, and he just like looks at us and goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And like
it's for the company.
Yeah, it's for the company.
It's for the company.
Sorry.
All right, so
school stuff. If it helps you, it's school stuff.
Yeah, it's school stuff. That's always an excuse. Yeah. So it's important that you stay true to yourself when marketing. I think that's an important thing, and I think that this it reflects a lot on the marketing you do in J in a sort of way as well. Like it's sort of, you're very. You can correct me if. Because I haven't known you for too long. It's been 3-4 months now, I think, something like that.
Something like that, like from August.
So I don't know you too well, but you're very direct, very simple in ideas and stuff like that. And I think it reflects a lot in the marketing as well. It reflects a lot in the podcast. It's a very simple sort of concept that we're going to build over time. Yeah. And even sort of if we do a presentation or something like that, it's usually very simple, but it looks great,
Yeah. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that believes there's a lot to be done in minimalism. In the sense, okay, you don't want to be overly minimalistic that you're boring. But minimalism has its strength, and I like playing to the team strength as well, in the sense that most of us are very outgoing people. We are not people that struggle, with public speaking or stuff like that. Most of us are very, good with talking and stuff like that. So why should I have a million words on a screen? Why should I have that?
It's very true.
Why should we have that, actually? When I know that the presenter, whoever it may be, whoever's on the team who's presenting, can very well vocalize it himself. That also increases engagement, because at the end of the day, I don't want a bunch of people like looking at the presentation. I want a bunch of people looking at the person who's presenting.
You want this presentation to help. You want the marketing to help what's happening.
It's not there to be the main light. It's not there to be the thing that everything is on. It's just there to help, further emphasize what the person who is in the spotlight is saying. So that's what I try and market, and there's a lot to be done in being minimalistic.
Yeah, and
so it works great.
It's the same in a company where the marketing is like the marketing is important, of course, but the marketing should be leading to something else. It should be leading to engagement. It should be leading to sales in some sort of way, because you need to make profit.
Yeah, and I'm actually really happy you brought this up, because in marketing, if you don't have a plan and you're just tossing stuff out there randomly, what I've learned is it really doesn't work. So if you're just planning on just doing something at random, very high probability it's not going to work. And you're not going to get the engagement you want. You might get some engagement. I'm not going to say you're going to get none. Because
why do you think that's the case? Is it because sort of like, okay, if you're natural, it's good, but at the same time, you don't get anything out of it if you don't plan, because there isn't sort of a way that you're channeling that energy and engagement into proper output? You think that's the reason?
To a certain extent, yeah, because, okay, let's take, for example, I don't know, let's take my product, for example. We had a memory foam cushion. I knew for a fact that decent chance a 17-year-old would not buy it, for the simple reason that a 17-year-old does not need it. You need to figure out, okay, my product, who is it mostly reaching out to? Who is my target audience? In my case, it was people, who are constantly sitting down in offices, bus drivers, for example, I don't know, elderly people, stuff like that. So we tried focusing more on people that would better use it. So we used office workers. We tried focusing as well on people who are a bit more advanced in age and stuff like that. And that way, we honestly got much more, I don't want to say profit, but we got so much more sort of engagement from
Progress.
that, because people would see it and they're like, oh yeah, I can relate to this. I do have back pain, for example, or I do have poor posture and this might help me. And yeah, they buy it. Whilst if I did actually present this a couple of times to people who were 15, 17, even as early as 20, and the reality is there is some engagement, like, they are interested in stuff like that, and you tell them, like, you give them a business card, they say, yeah, we'll call you at some point.
Yep.
But reality is turnover from that was like 20%. So 80% of people are just like being polite. So you need to be careful who you're marketing towards even. So if you have a specific product, figure out, okay, who would most likely buy this and target them. I'm not saying specifically target them, but you start from them because, okay, in terms of plan of attack, this is probably the easiest way to go, and then branch out. You can always branch out. I'm not saying exclude anyone from your marketing. I'm just saying start with the easiest road, because if it's the easiest road, you can get higher engagement, you can get higher results, and that way
you can get used to the process of marketing. You can get used to the editing, how long it takes and stuff like that.
Definitely.
So I think so. You mentioned that creating what I call and what I've seen in industry called an avatar, which is sort of like your ideal customer, which is what business people do to sort of business people do to sort of say, okay, this is the customer we're aiming for. It's called the avatar, and the marketing should also be aimed for the avatar. Yeah. I think that's what we're trying to say here, because you have to plan the marketing, if you go too broad at once, it won't work. I think when it comes to marketing, you have to go narrow until you build the foundational base of people that are following you, and then you can branch out and go from there.
And the important thing is also never forget your target audience. Nowadays, something that might be slightly controversial, but I think it's very worth bringing up, is, for example, you look at Jaguar, their current rebrand. They've basically completely abandoned their original target audience, and they've just gone to a new audience. So keep in mind, I'm not saying, again, there's nothing wrong with their sort of branding approach. I suppose you could say it's all in taste, to be quite honest with you. But again, keep your original people, your ideal customer, the customer that's been with you for such a long time, in mind. Don't just abandon them and say, oh, okay, I'm going to move on to this one. Because then that's how you lose profits. That's how you lose customers.
You lose a foundation.
There's an idea of obviously customer loyalty, but at the same time, there's brand loyalty. You need to be loyal to your customers. Loyalty is a two-way street, that kind of thing.
True. So the marketing, you have to be loyal in your marketing. That's interesting. Yeah. All right. So loyal to the brand. What exactly is a brand then? How would you define a brand?
A brand, I suppose it could be kind of, in my definition, it's the way that either a product or even the employees or something like that, they're representing themselves. So to me, brand, obviously the first thing that comes to mind is brand image, brand, reflection, stuff like that. So it would be your logo, your colors, your, even your motto, how you treat your customers, all that is related to branding. And there's also personal branding then, which would be something slightly different. Personal branding would be more what we talked about earlier. So how you bring yourself, how you show yourself, whether you're charismatic, whether you're more of a person that doesn't particularly, like dealing with customers, and so he prefers to be more in the backstage and stuff like that. That's sort of how you'd brand yourself then. Then branding in terms of a company, I see it so, like I said earlier, colors, your logos, your actual product itself, how you pitch it. So certain products, you need to present them in a certain way. Whilst other products, not so much. Some products are very limiting in how you can present them. Other products are much more liberating in the sense that you can present them in pretty much any which way. Creativity is basically your glass ceiling, as such. But certain products, they're very difficult to pitch in any other way than one particular way.
It's true. And I mean, when taking the alumni team into account, our branding we have a very specific branding in terms of colors, font, and stuff like that. And it's limiting in a certain way, but at the same time, it's the image has to be there. The colors have to stay the same.
I mean, just to comment on that, it's limiting and it's not for me, mainly because even it's reflected a lot in my wardrobe and stuff like that. I dress in very sort of minimalist colors because I'm a very minimalist person, so navy blue and stuff like that. So for me, I'm used to those colors and making them work and seeing what works with each other. But again, when you have a select number of colors, so in our case, for example, we have the blue, we have the teal, we have the turquoise, we have the cyan, we have the green, the light green, stuff like that. Obviously, for someone who doesn't know exactly what to do with those colors, where they're going to begin, yes, it can be very limiting. But again, it's a learning curve. So once you figure it out, you figure out, oh, okay, this goes really well in collaboration with this one. So, and you can not start reusing, but you can start saying, okay, let me just play with this combination. Let me do this. For the first, for example, poster or something, one color can be in the foreground, the other one in the background. Then for the next one, switch it up. There's nothing saying you can't switch it up. And that is a lot of marketing, seeing what works and how I'm going to rebrand this, remarket it, rejigger the metrics sort of, to make it work for you. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Again, it's being natural.
Yeah.
It's okay. That's really interesting.
Timber.
It's fine. Okay. So what is something that? Okay, let's go on a break and then we'll come back and we'll talk a bit more about. I think we'll go into a bit more personal branding.
Okay.
And I think colors. I'm very interested in what you think about colors and what you think about fonts and stuff like that, and even channels of media. I think we should go into like different marketing channels.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
That sounds good with you.
We'll definitely
do it after our break. We want to thank Aġenzija Żgħażagħ and the European Union's Programs Agency for their support in not only this podcast but all of the projects we do at J Alumni Malta. The Invest scheme and the Solidarity Corp scheme are the projects and funding that allow us to do everything that we do, and they're fully invested in what we're doing and the vision that we have for J Alumni. So thank you, and let's get back to the episode. So Miguel, let's go a bit into personal branding. So what makes up personal branding? Because we mentioned it a little bit, but what makes up personal branding?
So personal branding can be seen very well in the way you dress. That's one thing that a lot of people notice straight away. So are you a person that likes to dress very minimalistically? Are you a person that likes to dress really extravagantly and really in a way that you're sort of almost like a peacock, so to speak? You're really showing a lot of colors and stuff like that. So that's one way. Another thing that you also need to keep in mind is your attitude towards life, towards goals, towards partners as well. That's something that a lot of people notice. So for example, a lot of people, they see that, okay, this guy isn't treating their significant other correctly. So sort of, why should I trust him to be any different with me? For example, that's one approach of looking at it. And basically personal branding is very much how you hold yourself. So how you walk, how you talk, are you confident, are you charismatic, are you a person that's more sort of low-key, shy and sort of in a shell, or are you more of a person that's more extravagant, more straight up? So that's mainly, I think, what goes into personal branding. Then you also have subtle things which you might not necessarily pick up on cognitively in a conscious way, but for example, the way you articulate, the way you talk, the way you sort of present certain things, it gets picked up subconsciously. And you make these sort of micro impressions over time, which in the moment you might not necessarily pick up on. But over time, these micro impressions sort of, they collect essentially, and you form a sort of schema of that person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's very important. When I started when I realized that personal branding was a thing, I realized that I did articulate, but not very well. And the clothes I was wearing did not match the kind of person I wanted to be, if that makes sense. Like what I thought of myself wasn't what I was, wearing. You're not going to catch me wearing like sports gear out in public, but you are going to catch me wearing sweaters because it's like something I enjoy wearing and it fits sort of the, relaxed sort of confident persona that I like to sort of put on. I think it's very important in a company where the people you hire, the people who are in your team really, really do sort of live in that branding. Sort of they live in that. Their personal branding matches the branding of the company, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And you see this a lot as well in certain companies. Their uniforms vary. Certain companies, for example, banks, they have a uniform. They have a set things that they can wear in the sense that, everyone's wearing the same thing. There's a lot of uniformity, and part of the reason of that is when you see that, okay, that's a trustable thing. There's a uniform structure. It is balanced. There's trust. A bank cannot be something that, is unstable or that comes off as unstable and spontaneous. Because if it comes off as unstable, spontaneous, unpredictable, unreliable, all these things, I don't want to put my money in it. And that is what the bank is trying to convey. trust, dependability, always there for you. That is what a bank tries to convey. So it can't be something that, is constantly spontaneous. Whereas, I don't know, a random example, a clown, what he dresses is completely spontaneous, completely unpredictable, and most of the time doesn't even match.
Yeah.
But it matches the job. You want something to be spontaneous. You want something to be funny. Humor isn't funny unless it's spontaneous, or at least most of the time.
Yeah.
The really things that, you really need to think about and, you really in your mind about, you're not going to find them as funny.
No. Humor is very spontaneous. And I think it's very important that sort of how am I going to summarize what you said? And I mean, you said it perfectly. It's sort of like, so you can, different personas work. So you don't have to be refined to do well. You can, if your branding of the company, for example, is more outgoing, more sort of all over the place, then that's fine. But it sort of has to match the product, the people, and the vision that you have in mind. I mean, it's very important, right? So this is really interesting, because do you think that then that affects the different channels in which you market? Actually, let me go to a previous point. Something just came to mind. When you, how am I going to say this? Sort of, when you start marketing something, right? Obviously, we said there's a plan, there's an idea in mind, and stuff like that. Yeah, okay, let's go through the media channels. What different media channels are there that you can market through?
Basically, almost any of them. All of them have their own different target audiences, in the sense that you need to be aware of who you're targeting to. For example, you have, just to mention a few, you have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You could probably also find a few things from LinkedIn also as well. Like, these are all different venues. However, you need to see who uses them. They themselves have their target. So you need to figure out, okay, if I want to go a really juvenile approach, in the sense that I really want a really young audience, I would heavily suggest TikTok as well as Instagram. Instagram has, statistically at least, a younger audience. Whereas if you're trying to market towards people who are a bit more, slightly older, there isn't necessarily an age range, because you have outliers and stuff like that. But if you're trying to target someone who's slightly older, I'd be more obviously leaning towards Facebook Marketplace, all these things. Why? Not because they're sort of designed for them, but simply because they were introduced at a time in which they were more prevalent. So different generations have prevalent forms of social media and as well as communication. So someone who was born in the early 2000s, I think, and please don't quote me on this, but I think would be much more likely to use, I don't know, Facebook more than Instagram. Then as you move along, the likelihood changes. And obviously you have certain things. I'm certain there's, 90s kids probably remember more the MySpace. Is it called? I think, MySpace.
Even like musically compared to TikTok.
You have Vines as well. Vines came before YouTube.
Yeah, Vines were before. Like, I don't remember Vines, but YouTube was like the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. That was the thing I grew up with. YouTube was the thing I grew up with.
What do you think is the next? What do you think is a media channel that companies should be focusing on? Or like what's next? Can you predict it? Do you think, like, what do you think is next? I think obviously short form content is
amazing. Short form content is amazing, and I'll tell you why. Human attention span is ridiculously short nowadays. Because everything is instantaneous. The human attention span is just ridiculously short. You want something short, you want something sweet, you want something with a kick. That is your easiest way to market. That doesn't mean that later you can't have other material that is a bit slightly longer, slightly more explanatory. But the thing you use to hook, your hooking material, if that makes sense, it needs to be something short, sweet, something straight to the point, and something that's snappy and works for most people. Yeah.
So I would really sort of tell the company program students, anyone who wants to start a company, that the form in which they market themselves is very important. And I do think that when you, like we said, we were embodying the sort of branding, marketing becomes a lot easier. I mean, there's not a lot less marketing is needed in the normal sense of like creating videos and posters and stuff like that. It's a lot less needed because it's more natural. I mean, it creates more chemistry, and when you put it through the right medium, it really works. It just works.
Yeah, definitely.
Like for us it's a bit different because we do everything. We do almost all social media platforms on purpose because our target audience is sort of like we aim for the younger alumni. So that's that's one area, but we also want to build a multi-generational community. So it needs people from Facebook, from LinkedIn, you know. So, but obviously the content we post on Instagram and TikTok, for example, these reels that come out of this podcast, they go on Instagram and TikTok. But then, and maybe Facebook, but then LinkedIn don't receive these reels. They more get sort of the updates on the podcast and guests we're bringing on. It's a bit more professional, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Yeah. For different platforms, you have to also see the professionality level. Also, for Instagram and TikTok, there's a lot more sort of. It's trendy and it's sort of what's in style and stuff like that, and you have a lot of fun, little things that are just happening during the time. Whilst LinkedIn is a far more professional thing in the sense that it's what professionals use to communicate with each other. It's what professionals use to find other professionals that might help them, or maybe even novices that can take up a role or two. So you also need to keep in mind again what target audience the platform itself is targeting. So it's, again, one of the things that really goes into planning and figuring out which one's going to work best for you.
Yeah. All right, to close off this episode, because I think we're reaching sort of our time limit, I think that we mainly sort of covered how marketing is really profound. There's a lot to go into marketing, but it's really simple at the same time, in the sense of where you start off with a plan, and that plan embodies the whole vision of the company, and that's your marketing right there. That's how you market. You need the avatar. And like that, marketing becomes a lot easier. You need to know the purpose behind the marketing, the people behind the marketing, the channels, why, and what output you want from it. Are there any other small tips and tricks that you can leave off, or maybe some small remarks you can leave for the audience watching on marketing? What's something that you would tell them after being the marketing manager here for 3-4 months, where you didn't know a lot of the experience before, but maybe something you've learned here?
Okay, one of the things I definitely learned, and I think we mentioned this a lot in our board meetings, even and stuff like that, marketing, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So
Consistency is key.
Yeah, you need to be consistent in the sense, don't expect, for CP students, don't expect to just, upload a bunch of stuff day before finals and the judges won't notice. The judges can read the timestamp. Yeah. People understand. The whole point of that isn't to say, okay, this guy can use a camera. It's not just that. Yes, it's to see, yes, they have a certain level of professionality in using cameras, editing and stuff like that, but they also want to see your consistency. They want to see your marketing strategy, your plan, your execution. So again, don't treat it like it's a sprint and something you can just do in bursts. Because it does not work like that.
In Young Culture, we had a point where we were uploading consistently, and then we had a month where we didn't upload anything because something happened in the company. Viewership dropped and never got back up. So it's important that
in the algorithm stage, also.
Yeah, it's in the planning. It's important that in the planning stage there is that level of consistency. You know that you're going to be consistent throughout, even if you're going to upload once a week, for example, instead of 2 or 3 times a week. But if you upload once a week consistently, and you know you can do it, that's why you do it. I mean, originally the podcast was going to happen every 2 weeks rather than every month. However, due to sort of school and due to other commitments, we decided to tone it to one episode a month because it's more doable. I mean,
it's far more doable.
It's more consistent, and if we're able to plan a bit advance, so we're recording this episode's going out in February. We're recording it in December. Purely because of exams. We wouldn't be able to do that if we had 2 episodes a month.
We'd have double the workload, which is ridiculous. Even for you take care of the editing, it takes time. Yeah. As you know, it takes time. So imagine editing all the work all the way till February.
Yeah, exactly.
From now, even starting from now, it's a ridiculous amount of work.
Yeah.
So do something manageable. Don't necessarily go overboard in the sense, not necessarily all out, because obviously whatever work you do, whatever workload you decide you're going to take on, put all your effort into it. Don't, do it half job. It doesn't work that way. But do it as much of it properly as you can. Again, there's a learning curve. It's okay if you don't know everything. You'll pick it up as you go along. That's the whole point of the program. At the end of the day, that's the whole point of life also.
Yeah.
Nobody expects you to know everything.
Even in
Nobody
business, I
expects
mean,
you to be
building your
perfect.
first business is like learning curve, and then you
Yeah,
build
yeah.
a second and a
Totally.
third if they fail.
Totally.
So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on to the episode. It was
My pleasure.
great having you. We had, I think, a really good discussion on marketing.
Yeah, I really
This
enjoyed
is-
it.
And this is coming from two people who don't know much about marketing. Two people who are not very experienced, which I think
No.
allows, sometimes too much experience doesn't allow for creativity and innovation. So
Yeah.
I think that when you're not experienced in something, it really allows you to sort of go all out in
Yeah.
doing it. So it's great having you on the team. I love what this podcast is doing. I love all the work that
Even
you
me.
do as a marketing manager. So thank you for all your work. And
My
I
pleasure.
think we can close it off here. Thank you guys for watching episode number 4, right? 4.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm already forgetting. Episode number 4 on marketing. If you guys have any suggestions on what you want to see for this podcast, please let us know. We want to give you guys what you want to hear about. If you want honest conversations on topic A, we want to give you topic A. But we cannot assume that. We don't know your minds. You know, we can't read you. So,
Nope.
not
We're
yet.
not Jedi.
Not yet. We don't have the chips in our brains yet.
Neuralink.
No, that'd be cool.
That's gonna be a game changer
Yeah.
when that happens.
That might be really good for marketing, though.
Might be really good for marketing. Maybe not the best for humanity, but we'll see. We'll see. How
I think that's a good place to end off. Thank you, guys. See you next time. We hope that you guys enjoyed that episode of Just Ask Alumni. We want to thank the J office for giving us the room, the equipment, and for all the help that they give us in all the projects that we do. We really, really appreciate it. We want to thank the J alumni team, such as the volunteers, who help us with all our projects and with making everything you see possible and all our opportunities. And we want to thank you guys for watching. We hope to see you in the next episode. So see you next month.